moving forward with our character. We are moving, we are sprinting, we can also rotate the character with the mouse. So now we are going to go back here in the character folder, and where it says player BP, I'm going to right click there and I'm going to go under animation, and we are going to create an animation blueprint. So click here on animation blueprint. It is going to prompt you to select a skeleton. This is really important. So you see here, we're not going to select this one. We're not going to select the gun. We're going to select this bad boy over here. Again, you need to make sure that you select this mannequin skeleton that's under game and art. This art here is very important. It's the folder over here that we have imported in the first video. So we need to use that skeleton because animations will not blend if we use another skeleton. So select that skeleton, click OK, and voila, there you go. So I'm going to call this one player animation. So player underscore animation underscore BP for the player animation blueprint. And we can double click this and open this bad boy in Visual Studio. Why am I saying Visual Studio? Because this is the blueprint editor. Now, one thing that I also want to show you is the following. If we go here inside of our player and over here, now if we select our mesh, so go over here and select the mesh. And here in the animation tab, you see for the animation for the mesh, we can click here to use or select here in this where it says none. We can click on that and we can now select that he can use player animation BP. Voila, and I'm going to compile and save. Now we still don't see any animations because we did not create any animations. This should be the final animation puzzle result, but in order to do that, the first thing that we are going to do is right click and create a state machine. So here simply type state machine and we're going to click on add new state machine, and this is not going to be a new state machine, but I'm going to call it default, which is going to be the default movement that we have. So I'm going to double click on the default movement, and you see this entry over here. It is going to denote the entry or the first animation where we are going to jump into when we start this, well, when the animation starts playing. Now here we're going to right click and click on add state, and we are going to have here idle run. So idle/run. So idle run like this. Now I'm also going to see, can I copy and paste it? Yes, I can. I never tried to copy and paste it, so I did not know that. And this is not going to be idle run. This is going to be our jump start, or when we start jumping. So this is that animation. And duplicate it again. And I'm going to click on this one, and this is going to be our jump loop, or when the jump looping basically as long as the jump lasts. And copy and paste it one more time, and this one is going to be our jump end when the jump ends. So jump end. Compile and save. How can we denote which one of these is going to be our first animation that's going to be played? Well, simple. We can go from here and click on this. You see where we can drag this pin, and we have this arrow over here, you see? So we can drag on the arrow, but let me first find the animations. So drag the arrow and point over. You see now it is highlighted. You see now it is highlighted. So on the idle run and release. So now you see the entry is pointing to the idle release, meaning, or idle release, idle run, meaning that the first animation is going to be idle run that's going to be played. But we need to double click and open that animation so that we get inside. And now we need to create the animation. First of all, we are going to create here a couple of variables. So we are going to have here a direction variable. So direction, and it is going to be a float. So click here, and this is going to be a float. We are also going to have, click on the variable, we are going to have speed, and speed is also going to be a float. Click on here, we're going to say is in air with a question mark because we're asking if we are in air. And here I'm going to say Boolean because this is going to be Boolean. Click here and I'm going to say ADS, which is aiming down sights, shortcut for this variable over here, so that we know if we are aiming or not, so that we should play the aim animation or not. And I'm also going to go over here and create another variable. This is going to be our pitch. This is going to be for the rotation. Click here and this is going to be a float, and click again on the variable and we're going to have sprinting. And sprinting is going to be a boolean, so go over here and select the boolean. And lastly, we're going to have another variable which is going to be player, so I'm going to call it player, but for this bad boy we're going to go over here. So click on the drop down list over here inside of the details tab, and we are going to filter here in the search for the player underscore BP, because we are going to have a reference to the player blueprint. So here select, and now it will go blue. Again, it needs to be player blueprint. As you can see here, select the variable object type is the player BP, which is this bad boy over here, which means we have a reference to our player blueprint. Okay. Now we're not going to touch the direction, values, variables, and so on and so forth. So we are not going to touch their default values because we are going to get that dynamically, not even the pitch. So we are going to get all that dynamically from our player blueprint. But what we need to do now is we need to create a blend space. What is a blend space? Let's go over here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say new folder. I'm going to call this one blend spaces. Blend space is going to blend animations together. Now, first one is going to be, so right click over here, go under animation, and we're going to select blend space 1D. So first of all, select the blend space, or actually, is it blend space 1D? Let me just check that quickly. So actually, no, it's going to be blend space with not 1D. So select the blend space over here, not 1D. So click on this one, and again, we need to select which skeleton we want to use. So make sure, again, it's the skeleton which is under path game and art. So make sure you select that one. And I'm going to call this one BS movement. So movement, blend space movement. This is not bullshit movements, BS movements, okay? So BS movement, okay? First things first, you see these horizontal and vertical axes over here under axis settings. So make sure that you click on those. And the first name, so for the horizontal axis, we are going to say direction. So direction. And we are going to say for the vertical axis speed. And now for the direction, you see we have the minimum and the maximum value. The minimum value is going to be negative 180 and 180 will be the maximum. And for our speed, we are going to have the minimum value of 0 and the maximum of 300. And number of grids here is going to be 10, not 4, but 10. And also interpolation, you see we're going to say here 0.2, and what this interpolation will do, you see it's time for input. When it gets input, it will use this time to interpolate the target. Basically, when we get input, this is the time it will use to interpolate between animations. And I'm going to click on save. So the first animation over here that we are going to use, and we can search the animations under the asset browser, you see, and these animations are located over here in the art, and then mannequin and animations, and here they are, you see, here are those animations, and yada, yada, yada. So here we can go, and we can also find these animations in the asset browser, which is right over here. So these are all those animations, and click here under search, and we can search by name. The first one is going to be walk, and I'm going to say BWD rifle. So this is the one that we want. So walk BWD rifle iron sights. So drag this one at the top left corner. So you see over here, this is where that animation is going to be. So drag it over there. The next one, so here, the next one is going to be walk underscore LT. So LT, and here it is. Walk LT rifle iron sights. And this one is going to go over here, as you can see. Now we're also going to have one in the middle. So we are going to say walk, and we are going to say W or FWD for forward. So we have walk, forward, rifle, iron sights. So put that one here in the middle. Next, we have the RT or RT. So we have the walk. Let me just click on it here. So walk RT, which is the right direction. So walk, and this one goes over here. And the last one is, again, the W or BWT. So BWD, so walk BWD, and it goes at the top right corner as well. Now, we are also going to have the idle one. So here, I'm going to say idle. So idle, like this. So idle underscore rifle iron sights. Here it is, idle. And the idle will go at the bottom left corner, and it will go basically on every other corner. So it will go here, it will go here as well, and it will go here, and it will go here as well. Now pay attention. You see this here in the middle, you see this right here. This is basically, I don't know how we can call it, a preview. So we can drag this, but before that, save this. Make sure you save it. Control-Shift-S to save all. Under File, make sure you save all. Pay attention now when I move this preview value. If I move it over here, you see how we're moving? You see like this, and here we're going to move forward, you see? And this is when we are walking idle. This is for the movement. Or actually, excuse me, this is for the movement. This is not for the sprinting and so on and so forth. So this is for our basic movement. And again, if I move this, you will see, and you can click on it and move, or you can click or press Shift, left shift, and move your mouse here, and you will see the animations. You see when we are in the idle, and basically we have the speed and we have the direction. Notice over here, we have the horizontal axis, which is the direction, which goes from negative 180 up to 180, and when we have the speed, which goes from 0 to 300. And you see when we go up, we increase the speed and we start moving, and when we go down, we decrease the speed and we go towards the idle animation. And also, depending on the direction where we are going, which we are going to use with the pitch, we are going to know if we should, you see, if we should move like this. You see, this is like walking backwards, or if we should move like this, or like this, or like this. So this is the BS movement, or for the BS movement, because we also have, the jogging, or which is actually the, well, running. So we can go back here inside of our zombie characters and blend spaces, and I'm going to right click over here and go under animation. And again, we want the blend space, not blend space 1D. We will use this later on, but we want blend space again. Again, select the mannequin skeleton, which has the art, or it's located under art, and this is going to be BS underscore jogging. So jogging. What did I type here? Jogging. It's jogging like this, okay. And now double click this and open this bad boy. Now again, we're going to have direction and speed, and here I'm going to say for the horizontal direction, and the value is gonna go from negative 180 up to 180, and the grids are going to be 4. We're not going to touch anything else, and the name for the vertical is going to be speed, and the value goes from 0 up to 600, so this is going to be the speed. We're also going to say here 10 grids so that we can drag more animations here, and interpolation time is going to be again 0.2, and click on save over here. So what is the first animation? Because this is jogging, this is basically sprinting. So we are going to say here sprint underscore forward rifle, and this is gonna go at the top left corner, you see, and now we are sprinting. Now we're also going to put that forward all away, so all the way here. So also drag and drop it and put it here. Also we're going to put it here, and let me just lower my volume for the movement of the footsteps, and also put it here, and also put it here. So the forward goes on the top, okay? So the forward goes on the top. Next one that we have is going to be jog underscore BWD, and we want this one, and we're going to put this right over here. So basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the fourth, how can I say this row? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes over here, as you can see. So the first one is jog BWD rifle. Next one, we have the jog LT rifle, and this one goes over here. Moving forward, we have the forward, so jog FWD for the forward. This one goes over here in the middle. Next, the RT goes over here, so jog RT. So put the jog RT over here. And lastly, we have the BWD, so BWD again, and it goes right over here. And of course, we will also need ones for the idle. So here, what do we need? I'm going to filter for idle rifle underscore hip. So here it is. So we need the rifle hip. Here it is, or idle rifle hip. And this one is gonna go at the bottom. So all the bottom is gonna go this over here. So here, drag it, and over here, and over here, over here, and over here. So now pay attention. If I move this preview, you see here we are moving forward. If the speed goes to 600, you see, if the speed goes, you see, this is how we are going to determine that. And here we are in the idle. Here we are jogging slightly, but not that fast. But here we are sprinting, as you can see. This is how we blend animations together. So this is how we blend animation together. But now we need to go back over here and use these blend spaces, because here we are going to have the direction. So get the direction, get the speed like this, and copy and paste both of these and put them over here. So we're going to have direction speed 2 times. And over here I'm going to filter, because we're going to have BS movement. So here it is. Here is our BS or blend space movement, and we're going to have BS underscore jogging for the, well, when we run. So you see we have the direction, we have the speed. So we're going to plug in the direction over here, and we're going to plug in the speed over here, same as with these two. And we are going to get a reference to the direction and the speed directly from the player blueprint over here. So we will see that later on. Don't worry about that. We will test it out. So now that we have our directions, or we plugged in the direction and the speed in the BS movement and the BS jogging, we need to blend these poses by Boolean. What the hell does that mean? Well, we have the movement, we have the jogging. When we are aiming, we will not be able to sprint. So we will play the animations that are BS movement, which are the idle animations. So here I'm going to right click and I'm going to filter for blend poses. So blend poses by bool, which means a Boolean will determine how are we going to blend these poses. And that Boolean is going to be our ADS, or if we are aiming. So we're going to plug this in, and this is going to be that result. And based on the true or false, so if we are aiming, then we are going to put this over here. So we will not be able to jog, which means sprint. And let me just go over here, not jog, so I'm going to say BS sprinting. BS sprinting. So if I go back now, we have the sprinting, and let me just unplug it. So BS sprinting. It will be clear like this, and plug in the direction and speed. And also this one goes here in the false pose, and this one goes into the output like this. And if I compile and save, voila, we are done. Now, what the hell does this mean? This means, as you can see, when this is true, if we are aiming, we will not be able to sprint. So if we are aiming, sprint will not be available to us. So we are going to, as you can see here, this is the condition. And if it's true, we have the true pose and we have the false pose. If it's true, if we are aiming, then we are going to play the movement, which is the regular movement animation. We will not be able to sprint. And if it's false, as you can see over here, we can, well, set the sprint. That is depending on the direction and the speed value, which we will get from the player BP. And we can now go back here inside of our default, because we are still not done. We have everything. This is for the idle and run. When it comes to the jump, we are simply going to go inside. For the jump over here, we are going to filter for our animations. So let me just find it over here. It's in the asset browser. And we are going to filter our third person jump start. So where it is, here it is. So not the jump run, here it is, the jump start. So put this animation over here, and here we are going to have our play, or actually idle rifle hip. So these two animations, we are going to put them over here, and we are going to blend them per bone. So we need to blend these animations per bone. What the hell does that mean? That means I'm going to right click over here, and I'm going to filter for blend per bone. Here it is. And here we are going to have the base pose, and the base pose is going to be the jump one, and the blend pose is going to be the idle, which means we are going to blend when we jump and we fall down. We are going to blend, basically go from jump animation to the idle hip animation, and we are going to plug this in over here. And let me just compile and save that. So this is what's gonna happen inside of these animations. And here for the blend per bone, we will need to do the following. So click here on the layer setup, and here for the members, we will need to click on the array and branch filters, and over here click on the drop down list. And for the bone name, let me just go here under skeleton. So we have the root spine 01. This is the one that we need. So make sure that you copy this name. It's spine underscore 01, and we need to go back over here, click on this, and here the name is going to be spine underscore 01, like this. So again, make sure it's spine 01, compile and save, so that we blend these animations when we jump. So when we go from jump to idle, so on and so forth. So let's go back. We also have our jump loop. So go here in the jump loop, and for the jump loop, well, again, here we're going to filter. We will have the idle one, so put the idle over here, but we are also going to have third person jump loop. Here it is, so put the jump loop over here. And again, we need to blend poses by per bone. So right click over here and blend poses per bone, or actually by bone. So blend, or actually layered blend, excuse me. So layered blend, here it is. So we need the layer blend per bone. So make sure that you put this over here and put this over here, and simply drag this over here to attach it inside of our animation. So again, it is layered blend per bone, and excuse me, so compile and save. So I did a mistake here. We also need to go back here, and here it is, layered blend per bone. And we do need to do the same thing over here. So let's go over here and copy the name of the spine. Let's go over here in the jump loop, click on this over here, click on the plus button, and for the members, so go here for the members and simply add spine 01, compile and save, and voila, we are good to go. So the last animation that is left for us to do is the jump end. So make sure that you simply, well, click on it. And we need to find third person jump, and it is third person jump simply. So let me just find it over here. Third person jump, here it is. We need the third person, not the idle one. So let me just remove, make sure that you grab the correct animation. So this one, so click and drag, here it is. So third person jump, and we also need our idle. So idle rifle hip, here it is. Make sure that you drag the correct animation. So now, again, we are going to right click and we are going to say layered. Let's go over here, layered blend per bone. Make sure that this is the base pose and this is the blended pose, and attach them over here, and make sure that you go again over here and that you add here spine 01. And make sure compile and save, and we are good to go. So now we have all animations over here, but now we do need to create conditions for these animations to happen. And how does that work? Well, from here we're going to drag over here. So we are going to go from idle to jump start, from jump start to jump loop, and jump loop to jump end, and from jump end go back to the jump or idle run. So when you do that, so simply select here and then drag the arrows. This is all we need to do to indicate from which animation to which animation we are going to go. So now we see we go from idle to jump start to jump loop to jump end and go back to idle run. So click on this right here. You see this right here, click on it. This is the parameter. So what is the condition for us to go from idle run to jump start? So click here. What is the condition? Well, the condition is going to be is in air. So get is in air and plug it in over here. This will either return true or false. And if it's true, then we will transition from idle run to jump start. This is what we will do. Now, what is the condition? So let's go over here. So what is the condition to go from jump start to jump loop? Well, here we need to filter for time remaining ratio. And this is going to be the time remaining for the third person jump start. Let me just find it here. Here it is. So this is what we need. Time remaining for the animation that is being played. And that animation is third person jump start. And here I'm going to filter for float less than float. You see float less than float, and we're going to to compare the time remaining from this animation, if it's less than 0.1 of a second, then we're going to plug that in over here. What this essentially means is we're testing when this animation over here gets to the value that is less than 0.1 of a second, which means it finished playing. So when that is true, we can enter the transition, and that transition is gonna take us from jump loop to jump end. So go inside of the jump loop and go into the jump end. And what we are going to do here, well, again, here we're going to get is in air, so get it. And we're going to compare here, bool not. So if it's not Boolean, so if this right here, if is in air is not equal to this value. So I'm going to plug this in over here. What does this mean? We're asking if this bool is not true. So if it's not true, if we are not in the air, we can transition. So we can start falling down and we can transition from the jump loop to the jump end, because if we are not in the air anymore, we need to start falling down. That is transition to the end jump animation. And finally here, the last transition that will go from jump end to idle. So click on it over here. Again, we need to right click, and here we need to filter for the time remaining for the animation third person jump again. So filter for that. And again, we are going to right click here. I'm going to search for float less than float and plug this float in here. And if it's less than 0.1, so what did I do over here? So if it's less than 0.1, the animation has finished playing. Plug this in over here, which means when the animation is finishing the play, we can move from jump end to idle and run animation, which means basically go back and transition to the idle run animation. Now we can go back here inside of our graph and we can create a cached state. So I can type here CACHE for cache, and I can call this one cache state, or is it cache state? How did I call it? So cache pose, excuse me, not state. So cache pose and new saved cache pose. And I'm going to click on it and I'm going to change the name here to the default movement like this and plug this inside of here. Now, what does this mean? This basically means if I compile and save, we are caching the default movement, which means we are storing. It's like a memory. So we need to reactivate it again when we want to use it. So we cache it over here. We have it cached, so it's saved in the memory, so we don't have to activate it over and over again. Now, unfortunately, this video is already long, and we don't have the chance to test it out. I can plug the default to the final result over here, and if I compile and save, automatically, if I go here inside of the player blueprint, you see, we have the animation already. You see he's like holding his gun and we will attach the gun. Don't worry about that. If I go back here and play, you see now he is, well, not that inside of that T pose. He doesn't have the T pose, which means that, well, the animations are blending and they are playing. But in the next video, we will start to connect everything. So we'll start to connect the direction and speed and is in air and so on and so forth so that we can test this out. This is just the preparation for our animations. Until then, Fahi here from AwesomeTunes.com. I will see you guys in the next video.